And now Reimer, now that we are just the two of us, maybe can we go again through your comparison of the many times that the United States already threatened Iran and nothing came out of it, because you had other examples. 2007 was just one. There were other times when the US was doing build-up.
2012. One was under Bush, the other one was under Obama, and the mightier one was under Obama in 2012. And so it was all again about it was about the nuclear question. Now, Iran has signed the non-proliferation treaty, but part of this non-proliferation treaty gives every country the right to enrich uranium to the point that it is required for civilian purposes. And everybody who's got cancer or something else, I mean, even in our countries here in Germany, we are using enriched uranium in a number of medical applications, and it is used elsewhere in technology, and even to a certain extent, if I'm informed correctly, even to some extent in order to make extend the or prevent foods from perishing faster, etc. Anyway, there are a whole lot of civilian applications for which you need enriched uranium. Now, the Israelis, and hence the Americans in particular, the Israelis want to remain the only nuclear power in the Middle East. I mean, one can understand that they want to understand does not say approve. I can understand that they want to remain the only nuclear power in that area, which gives them some very special translated in political clout, gives them a lot of political clout in that region. Now, they want to have a full stop on Iran, that Iran does not at all enrich uranium, because they say once you do it, you can't really control where they stop. Fine. Therefore, we have, in order to control that, we have the international
IAEA, the International Nuclear Atomic Agency, IAEA.
And they had free access in Iran. Not only free access, they were, of course, allowed to put cameras everywhere, not just cameras to take still photos, but video cameras which were on stream all the time, which could be controlled, and they're connected via internet for now. How long have we got internet? 20 years or longer, 25 years or more. No, I already had it in my office in 93. Via internet, they were connected, so they could control all the comings and goings and the critical parts, being underground, of course, the critical parts of the enrichment possibilities. Now, for that, you need a certain kind of centrifuges and so on. So also the purchase of centrifuges with very, very special centrifuges could be controlled, and etc., etc. So it was, and the International Atomic Energy Agency repeatedly came out with a statement: everything's okay, no problem. The Iran is not doing anything against what they've been promising to do or what they signed to do. So, but international law doesn't mean anything for the United States. It's proven that many times, and for its protege Israel, especially not either. And so they wanted to stop Iran from the enrichment process. In the Iranians, there were the offers that they should have that done in some other countries, and then they could import the ready product. But the Iranians said, no, we've been put so many times under sanctions and exports, etc. We want to have that our own capability and capacity. As a result, they try to push Iran in by force, by putting a 3 Air Force battle group, a 3 carrier battle group force in front of the Iranian border and put the gun in front of it. On top of that, already Obama, an additional claim was added to this, that the Iranians should stop developing medium-range missiles that could reach Israel.
Yeah.
And the Iranians said, no way, that is our guarantee that we can hit back Israel if they hit us. And so that is still now the order of the day. I mean, Trump wants no nuclear and, of course, no missiles that can hit Israel. And what Trump actually wants is that Iran rolls over belly up, and, well, what they really want is regime change. And for that, they even reactivated the stroke of the son of the Shah. No
He looks
shame.
like a joke. He looks like a joke. It's like every time you see him, and then you see there's an Iranian flag behind him, and you realize that it must be somewhere in like it must have been somewhere in a bunker or something. I mean, it just looks bad. He looks bad, but yeah. Hey, very brief intermission because I was recently banned from YouTube, and although I'm back, this can happen anytime again. So please consider subscribing not only here, but to my mailing list on Substack. That's pascalotta.substack.com. The link's going to be in the description below, and now back to the video.
No, and from that point of view, nothing happened because if you get, it was already 2012 the case. If you want, I can send you what I've written at the time about it. How have you got a possibility of publishing it on your webpage? If I
I
send you
can. Yeah, if you send it to me, I can circulate it. Yes.
yeah, if you're interested, I'm not pushing
Please.
for it, but I can if you, and you can see how the U.S. military, a number of statements from high-ranking, which I had collected at the time, high-ranking American military, especially also the chiefs of staff, said we don't want to touch them because they have the capabilities of really hurting us. Now, of course, in a normal war, all-out war, the Americans would, of course, beat Iran. Yeah, but at a incredible cost. You see, if I mean, it's a well-known thing for warfare. If you only attack from the air, you don't change anything on the ground.
Right.
In fact, think about the Allies destroyed in World War II, firebombed our big cities, etc. Attack. Did that change the regime? I mean, what they hoped it would change the regime? No, the population even kind of rallied around, not knowing any better, rallied around the regime. The same thing happened in Iraq or other places where they bombed, or North Korea, they bombed the civilian Hanoi, etc., did that. Did that lead to the population saying, no, we have to get rid of our leadership and have a revolution, etc.? No, it didn't. It's this had never happened time and time again, but still they keep doing it. So if they did, however, just bomb a long bombing campaign, there would no American in the Middle East would be safe anymore.
Right. And Israel neither.
Not necessarily with Iranian missiles. That's not enough, because in 2012, about within the first month, 25,000 Iranians registered in the special office as suicide bombers.
Wow.
Yeah, to be sent around. Now think about it: how many Shiite minorities are in the Middle East? Yeah, even in Saudi Arabia, you have a substantial Shiite minority. So everywhere in the Middle East. So that just this particular aspect. If you come closer, you have the Strait of Hormuz. If you have look at the geography, it is like Norway with deep fjords, not as high, but with deep fjords and caves. And out of those, you can shoot missiles. Out of those, suddenly little boats, a swarm of little boats can come out. One of them is shooting a squall. One of those, as they call it, hoot in underwater missile, even if it makes a lot of noise, with 350 or 60 kilometers an hour. It is very, very fast. It's target very fast. The Strait of Hormuz looks relatively wide, but it is actually a very narrow strait of navigable strait of 1.5 kilometers wide, or at times, where it's deep enough for bigger ships to go through. That can be easily controlled. All kind of mines and minesweepers can be shot at from the coast. In order to stop the shooting from the coast, the American Marines would have to go in and kind of clear out every little fjord, etc. That would be heavy casualties if they actually could do it. Even then, they would have to then stay there, otherwise the Iranians would come back. So if they stay there, they are vulnerable and they'll be attacked. So they have to move in a little bit further inland to secure the area. So those will be attacked again. So as you will be drawn into it and be made more and more vulnerable. I mean, whichever way you are looking at it, you have the loser card.
Yeah, so it's an in for boots on the ground or for like proximity warfare, that is a nightmare scenario for the United States. But
For the
then
military,
that for the military, we already know that they are aware of this, and that they, for instance, told non-essential personnel in their base in Qatar to leave. Uh, s- Although, of course, that can be also part of the cognitive warfare of like massaging in the idea that that an attack is imminent. And we are still. I mean, it's still possible that the United States believes, or at least Trump and his entourage believe, that if they are just able to kill the Ayatollah, and maybe, let's say, the prime minister plus foreign minister, top rank, to do like a decapitation strike, the way Israel managed to kill Nasrallah in Lebanon, that will suffice. Like with Venezuela, we showed them, we killed them, and now we mission complete. Is that something that you could imagine that they might be after? Although you already made it clear, the Iranians said, if we're being attacked, we will go all out and we will not let you out of this. So it's not just going to be a small attack. It's going to be war if anything hits our territory.
As I say, I cannot exclude the madness. I mean, of the United States, of the United States politicians, and looking back at my time in its NATO headquarters, I was had a lot to do also with my high-ranking officers. I was a civilian, but my on the military level, my counterparts were at the level of colonel or general. And so I had quite a lot to do also with American military. And I always was struck by because from the left in Germany, you always said, oh, these horrible American soldiers in the military. No, no, no. By comparison to their political leaders, they were peaceniks. And it was
Really?
quite clear they didn't want, they knew war. Many of them had children in uniform. Yeah, they were old enough to have children in uniform. They didn't want war. Of course, to impress. I mean, again, Sun Tzu, the best war is if you can win it without a shot being fired. I mean, if you impress the others so much. So they're having the finest weapons and etc. That is all. That's what they wanted, and to have even more of it, fine. But they were, by comparison to the civilian overlords, they were risk averse. Luckily. I mean, I found that generally amongst the military, full stop.
That is fascinating. Because okay, the thing is, some of the military, some of the civilian leaders in the cabinets of the United States, they are actually coming from a military background, but those tend to be the ones who give the bloodiest speeches, so who fit into the general like warmongering profile that even a civilian like Mr. Pompeo then brought, of course, to the first Trump administration.
Yeah, well, or what was the guy with the big mustache? Was the national security?
Walrus, Mr.
Mr. Bolton,
Bolton, yeah.
Mr. Bolton, etc. They didn't have any military experience in the front and etc. No, but for them, war is something they've probably seen it in Hollywood films back home in the easy chair. It's and if they're think tanks, I mean, they are I also prefer to read reports by a think tank, which I like, but I also read the other ones. But if they read think tanks from like the Institute of War, yeah, run by rabid war fanatics, then of course they think everything's fine. And you have to listen to the people in the Congress. They still think they are the hegemon and they can dictate and they can get away with it. This is the point. They don't know the strengths and the weaknesses of their own situation and the mounting strengths of the opponent.
May I ask you one more thing, which is that, okay, we've seen this before. You're saying the buildup has been there before in 2012 and during the Bush administration as well. One of the things that a lot of analysts are saying is that if Donald Trump now just disengages, he will lose face. I mean, it will the weakness of the United States will be exposed for all to see. How did they deal with that back in 2005 and 2012?
That's a good question. I cannot. I cannot remember how they dissolved it. I think there was no particular part. It just kind of I would remember it if that had been
Mhm.
someone had come and cut the Gordian knot. I cannot remember that, but it's a good question. I have to look that one up again. But of course, you are right when you say a lot of people think how Trump has now, as I mentioned earlier too, has now a series of face-losing events behind him. Yeah, and that would probably be the next one if it did precisely that. On the other hand, if you look at the situation in his MAGA movement, and the last thing I've seen, that's some time ago, however, they were very much opposed to foreign wars. I mean,
Mhm.
the situation between the political parties in the United States has inversed. It was in earlier days, it was the Democrats who were against, more Democrats were against the foreign wars, and the Republicans were gung ho, and we have to use our shiny army. What other why otherwise are we paying so much money for it if we can't use it? That was a saying of more or less literally of Madeleine Albright, one of her generals, in a cabinet meeting. So that is, but to get out of it, I don't know. I mean, with the that makes it so dangerous that he might try it after all. Might give the order.
Yeah, I mean, it might be that he then feels he has to go in. On the other hand, Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He can just say, declare victory, said he achieved everything he wants, and be out of it. And he can say whatever he wants. There's no more consequences to his speech acts.
But for that, he would have to throw a few bombs to declare victory. And if one looks at the previous attack, which was a
Hmm.
show, basically, uh, possibly, I don't know, but I would not exclude it that it was that the Russians helped to arrange it. I could imagine that the Russians would help to arrange something like that too. That the that Trump can get out, throw a few bombs into the Iranian desert, claiming that was another important nuclear installation, and getting out, and that would help the Russians, that would help the Chinese, that would help the Americans, and it would help everybody else. Even it would help the Israelis because they are not ready for another conflagration with Iran, because they haven't
So,
filled up their missile stock, their defense stock. I mean, they are still naked.
so your overall assessment is that actually on the ground, the interest of all these parties should be to get out of it, even if the United States, the political level, we don't know, but the military level must be aware that getting out of this situation is actually in their interest. Then maybe one more question, because it was going through my mind. If the Iranians attack uh, this armada, this navy fleet, if they, let's say, the unthinkable happens and they manage to sink the aircraft carrier, apart from the ecological disaster, wouldn't that be a reason for the United States to start using ICBMs, like just fire from the U.S. mainland at the Iranians? And is that thinkable in your assessment?
Uh, uh, that would be a major stumbling stone to get over, to use ICBMs to attack it, because immediately the red lights would flash in Russia, because they wouldn't be able to discern. I mean, Iran is not that far away I mean, looking on the
Yeah.
globe a bit. and there are ICBMs starting in the general direction of Russia that could create quite a problem. And an ICBM only has okay, the ICBM is only has a more important effect because of its nuclear warhead. A few, in terms of normal TNT, it can get maybe, but we don't even know if it could, I don't at least don't know if it could penetrate deep underground or not. Normally, the only way, for instance, to get deep underground, the Israelis have shown in Lebanon, in Beirut, when they got into the cellar of their deep under a high-rise building to eliminate Nasrallah by dropping these deep penetrating bombs at the same place again and again. So they actually worked themselves through the rubble, through the crater, in the same crater again and again. I think there was about seven bombs were required until that was achieved. But but an ICBM, but by itself, doesn't. It's more dangerous, and the effect, if it was just loaded with TNT, or I mean high explosives, better, stronger explosives materials than TNT, but we are still measuring it in TNT units, and so it's it wouldn't be the use of the missile would be more expensive than the effects you could have from it, put it that way.
Okay,
The
so
effect you could have of it.
right.
But
So
the same applies to if you have the standard missile, the THAAD missile, for what was it, 12.5 million each. And if you want to make sure, you normally fire 2 against an incoming missile. That makes 30 over 30. I mean, no 20, it makes 25 million to intercept a cheap Iranian missile. That doesn't make sense, does it?
So even the cost factor doesn't add up and make sense for the United States to actually go to war with Iran. I mean, it's everything is stacked against that option. Although, do you see any way in which the United States, if they can pretend that it was Iran who fired the first shot, that they were unprovoked attack, that they could activate Article 5 of NATO and say, like, now send us all the ships you've got, and then all NATO against Iran?
It is not. I think it's not the Wendekreis des Krebs.
Yeah.
I would have to look at. I don't think that it's beyond the limit. There's no automaticity in that.
Yeah, for everybody watching, like, the NATO treaty has a clause that says that NATO territory is only in Europe and above the longitudinal no, a latitude above so and so, not below that, and probably Iran is below that latitude.
Yeah.
And yeah, so in a sense, even entrapping the Europeans, you would have to use massive again, propaganda. So it's unlikely that the United States is able to escalate it laterally to other NATO members.
Yeah. Well, orally, I mean, the EU is already rushed ahead, declaring
Yeah, true. They're satellites. They're satellites at this point. They do whatever the boss says.
So I laughed when the Iranians actually hit back in turn and declaring European armies as a terrorist organization. So yeah, no, but I don't. Apart from that, Article 5 is uh, uh, has a certain automatism, but it does not include explicitly military. It can include military, but no country is committed by Article 5 to help in military terms. Article 5 requests assistance, but within the country's means and possibilities, and it can just be a diplomatic protest note.
Right.
To fulfill the requirement of Article 5, which is kind of stylized as we all march in lockstep, guns cocked, and if it doesn't work like that.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And, other people, including Jack Matlock, former US ambassador to the Soviet Union, actually said people should really read the NATO treaty before they make any kind of assumption about what it says. Yeah.
Absolutely. And more importantly, originally when NATO was created, it was when the French and the British and the former colonial powers, they were all interested to expand this NATO, the Article 5, also including making it mandatory to have military assistance beyond that line of latitude. And for very good reasons, the Americans said, no, because in those days, they were still fighting, the Europeans were still fighting colonial wars. The same kind of thinking, they did the same kind of thinking Zelensky is doing now. Oh, if I only could be in NATO now, I could continue my fight with the help of NATO. Or NATO would do the fight, also the fighting for me. No, it was the Americans who were opposed to this. They didn't want to be dragged into, in those days, remember, the Americans did not want to have any kind of public relations wise, did not want to be associated with the former colonial
Powers, yeah. And,
powers. Yeah.
Rainer, like history has this weird attitude of creating very bizarre ironies. One of them being like when we look at Japan, it was the Americans who wrote Article 9 into their constitution, although I must say there's a very important like Japanese like were working behind the scenes for that. But Article 9 saying like Japan will not maintain military forces, right, and will defend the homeland only at home, never abroad, like right now for war. And today it's the Americans who keep saying like, why don't you want to do more for the alliance and you should do more? And actually we had a smart prime minister before the current one who once said like, you know what, Americans, you're right. It's not an even deal because if we get attacked, you have to help us. If you get attacked, we don't have to help you. It's not an even deal. Let's make an even deal. We help you if you're attacked, but in return, we have Japanese troops on U.S. mainland soil, which was then, of course, automatically out of the question. But there are certain politicians who have a bit more freedom to speak than others because the Europeans are 100% captured, unfortunately. But Rainer, your analysis here helped a lot, really, with putting things into perspective. People who want to read more from you, where should they go?
Russia Today or through my homepage, Rainer Rupp, Kundschafter.
I will put a link to your homepage into the description of the video that will come out of this live discussion here. Rainer Rupp, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Pascal. It was a pleasure.